Yes, so thank you so much for coming today. Welcome. My name is Kate Remillard. I'm on the marketing team at VHT Studios / Matterport now, and I'm super excited to be your co-host. We have a very special two guests today, but before we get started, just want to remind you that everybody is muted. So if you have questions for our guests, please add them to the Q&A box on your screen. We'll also have time at the end of the show for questions. You'll see a few poll questions pop up during the show, so be sure to participate. It's a great way to kind of keep everybody engaged and keep the show moving. Also stick around to the end of the show when we will announce the 5 winners of our DoorDash gift cards, and you must be present to win those. And then lastly, just be sure to subscribe to Lucy's YouTube channel. It's Lucy Edwards VHT. She has a ton of great content on there, interviews with industry professionals and a whole archive of our Lunch with Lucy from over the last couple of years. It's good stuff, so be sure to subscribe to her channel. And with that, I will introduce the woman herself, Lucy.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you everyone for joining us today. It's going to be a fun session, very unusual and very engaging, and I would love for you to participate and to ask questions and to learn more about Inman Connect, and as well as all the newsletters that Inman is producing on a daily basis. It's absolutely fabulous. Lockhart Steele, he's a Chief Content Officer at Inman News, and I met Lockhart actually at Inman in New York City.
True.
And that was fun. We had a fun interview. You can find it under events. So please go to my YouTube channel and find the interview itself. And then we had amazing testimonials there as well. And Dani Vanderboegh. So Dani is also involved in producing the material for Inman, and she's a senior editor at Inman News. But you also help with Inman Connect and the articles there, correct, Dani?
Mm-hmm. And I run our contributors program.
Perfect. Thank you. So let's get started. I would like to start with a poll about your participation at Inman. Like, do you go to live Inman events, or are you going online? How are you in touch with Inman News and events? So please participate and do ask questions if you have any as we go. So I personally was there in January, and I thought it was absolutely amazing, all your speakers and your presenters and panelists. So let's start with you, Lockhart. How do you investigate who are the best? Because it's not just the material that they're presenting, it's also their personalities.
Sure. So Inman does 4 big events each year. We do what we call Connect in New York in January, and we do Connect in Las Vegas in August. If you're wondering why we do New York in the middle of winter and Las Vegas in the middle of summer, we just do it. That's just how we do it. It's just, that's our own, it's the way it's always been. Luckily, we do it at the Aria Hotel and Resort in Las Vegas, which is a beautiful place for a conference and also has exceptional air conditioning. So if you decide to join us in the summer in Las Vegas, which is our biggest of all the 4 events, please know that you'll have a very, very, very cool time in every way. Besides the 2 tentpole events, which are Connect New York and Connect Las Vegas, we also do an event called Luxury Connect, targeted at the luxury real estate market. That happens in Las Vegas right before Connect Las Vegas. So a lot of folks will come and do the 2-day luxury event and then stick around for the 3 or 4-day Connect event. You can get a special deal if you buy both. And then we also do an executive retreat called Disconnect, which happens in Palm Springs, California, usually in the spring. This year it was a little bit early. We just finished it. We just did it at the end of February. And Disconnect is really a special gathering. It's much smaller. It's a few hundred people coming together to kind of really address in sort of an intimate setting, and disconnect, the idea of being like, hopefully you've turned off your phone, you're there for some conversation, and we make a lot of progress. We're actually going to be publishing a little sneak preview for this audience. Keep your eyes peeled. Next week on Inman.com, we'll be publishing the roadmap that all of our attendees at Disconnect put together with a letter to the future of the industry written by Brad Inman, that Brad is literally writing as we are talking here right now. So Disconnect is also a place for us to come up with our biggest ideas and then sort of share those with the industry. And we'll be sharing those on Inman.com next week. So Lucy, your question was, how do we decide who to speak at the events? The answer is lots of different ways. I mean, people approach us all the time. Katie Godot, who runs our events program, she has a door that just never stops getting knocked on. And Katie does the hard work. I mean, what we end up doing generally is we talk to people. We're looking for people with original ideas. We're looking for people with great insights. We're always looking for folks across the country. So, you know, if you're not one of the, you know, major markets, like, doesn't mean we wouldn't love to have you. Some of the best people we have been, we have an amazing agent from Idaho who recently joined us. We've had amazing agents from Georgia. We've had amazing agents from Mississippi. And, you know, the Connect events even bring folks in internationally. So we actually have a strong Australian contingent that tends to come to Las Vegas. And we have a bunch of guys from the Netherlands who love to come to New York. So, you know, everyone's welcome, and also anyone can be a speaker. We really try to democratize our stage. One of the signature promises of an Inman event is that no one has paid to be on our stage. So a lot of other industry conferences can't say that. Without naming names, I will tell you that there are conferences where if you're a sponsor, they'll put the sponsor on the stage and, you know, throw some softball questions their way. Inman was started by Brad Inman himself. And the very first thing that Inman did was Brad hosted an event called Connect. This was in the woods of Sonoma back in 1998. Brad's a Bay Area guy. And Brad has a house up in Sonoma. And he literally did the first Connect in his backyard. And Brad is a journalist. He was a newspaper journalist for 30 years before he started Inman. And to his mind, you know, giving the audience a fair shake is really what it's all about. Like, if someone agrees to come on the Inman stage, they agree to answer all our questions. They can't say, like, don't ask me about this or don't ask me about that. Like, we don't allow that, and we would never do that to our audience. And if you ever have, you know, if you ever do come to a Connect, one of the great pleasures of a Connect is watching Brad. He'll sit down, you know, with big names. He'll sit down with Rich Barton from Zillow, or he'll sit down with Robert Refkin from Compass, and he'll ask them really hard questions, you know, and that's the fun of being in the room, is that these important people get grilled, often in ways they don't see coming. I think, you know, obviously it's been a tough year for Compass. Rob Refkin was gracious enough to take our stage in New York a couple months ago. You know, the stock price has been beaten down, and, you know, he could have hidden, but he respects Brad, he respects him, and he came on the stage. And Brad's first question to Refkin was, so this has been the worst year of your life, right? Which is a great first question, because that's what everyone's thinking, right? It's like, it's been terrible, right? Like, and, you know, the conversation went from there, but that's just kind of how it goes. Like, we're not going to pull any punches, but because we're respectful about that, and because, like, ultimately, like, you know, we're trying to get to the truth, people like Robert Refkin come back year after year, even though, you know, occasionally they get a little bit of a jab in. And listen, folks are pretty good at jabbing back at Brad. You know, he has a famous nemesis who's Gary Keller from Keller Williams. Maybe nemesis is too strong a word, but, you know, the two of them have sparred over many years, yet they've often found common ground as well. And I think that that's what's interesting about watching these interviews as they unfold live. And we really think of it as like live journalism. You know, you never know what's going to happen. And there is that true element of surprise. I think that every time that, you know, Gary Keller and Brad Inman, you know, take the stage, it's kind of like two heavyweight fighters stepping into the ring together. And, you know, each of them is sort of capable of knocking the other one out. And the question is, like, how's this fight going to go? And that's, I think, what makes Connect a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it wasn't just Compass, it was also Better with mortgage and everything they went through, and DXP. And I was just sitting there thinking, why did you agree to come on stage? But that's because they're proud of what they're doing and how they're making things happen. And I think that's one of the reasons they no argument about it. They are brave, honest people who are willing to stand up for their beliefs. So that is, so they, you know,
Lucy, one other very important way that we end up finding speakers to speak at our event is through our contributor program, which Dani runs. Dani, you should explain the contributor program, because it would probably be of great interest to the people watching this webinar.
Sure.
And they might be able to contribute.
That would be amazing. We have this contributor program that I've been running we're coming up on 8 years now. And we've grown from, 50 contributors at the beginning to something like 1,000 contributors who have written for me over my tenure. And basically what it is we want this very boots on the ground feel to the content that we're putting out there. We want agents and brokers to be able to speak to what they're seeing in the field and to give those insights to other agents and brokers, hopefully to prepare them and make them better for their business. So in the contributed program, we invite people to reach out and just express an interest. We're typically looking for agents and brokers, but there is some wiggle room there. And I got to give a shout out to Brandon Doyle, who's one of my contributors, who's on this call. Hi, Brandon.
Yes.
So we, like I said, or like Lack said, there's kind of Stage will kind of pull contributors, and also we'll pull contributors from Stage. We have this nice little ecosystem that kind of feeds into itself. So yeah, we invite anybody who is interested, has kind of an interest in writing or even video or podcast, to reach out and pitch us ideas. My email is dani@inman.com. It's real easy to remember. Feel free to reach out. And one of the things we do is we have like a regular contributed program, which are some of the people who contribute week over week or even month over month. And then we have people who do kind of like one-off articles, and all are welcome. What we're looking for in contributed content is just takeaways that the average professional can put into practice in their business that day. And what am I missing, Lack? I think that's
that's it. You nailed it. It's the way the program has grown under Dani's leadership has been amazing, and she's also built an incredibly diverse program, diverse viewpoints, diverse contributors, and diverse geographic breakdown. I mean, we really try to cover it all. Yet at the same time, we're always looking for fresh voices, and I can't stress that enough. For our Stage and for our page, like, we want to be raising up new voices. It's a key, again, like, this is one of Brad's like original, like, things that drove the business, was like, he wanted to put people on Stage who weren't the same old people from NAR and weren't the same, no offense to NAR, but you know what I mean? Like, we're looking for new voices, and like always, we want to make sure at every event, there's people on the Inman Stage who this is their first time. And, the thing that was interesting is we did a virtual events program during the pandemic. And that really allowed us to try out a lot of new voices in a row. And we really created some superstars, in my opinion. And now we have a whole new, sort of a new generation of like Inman moderators and Inman interviewers who, if you come to one of our Connect events, you'll see on Stage. So, we're really, really lucky to have the folks involved with the company that we do. We're really lucky in the way people give their time, to help our content be the best it can be. And we're lucky to have people like Dani, pulling it all together.
Well, you also invite a variety of people to be speakers and also to contribute in articles, and they are forward thinkers, they are adventurous, and I admire a lot of that direction, because you are not afraid to ask different questions that someone might be offended with, or they might be afraid to answer, but you are there. So it's not luck, it's your hard work, and also, you are working with people every day. That's what you do for a living. I also would like to mention Laura Monroe. I interviewed her. I was fortunate to meet her during Inman, and I had amazing testimonials about her work. And maybe one of you can talk a little bit about Laura. She was supposed to be here today, but she's at the conference and she's flying right now. She's the one who's from Colorado. So I'm sorry, Dani, I confused a little bit. So if one of you can mention what Laura does, that would be great, because maybe it will be interesting for our audience if they can participate in that program as well.
Yeah, so Laura is our sort of our global ambassador of the sort of Inman community. And, we talk about the Inman community a lot. And I think a lot of different folks, talk about their communities, but the Inman community is a very real group of people. We've been doing the Connect events now for 25 years. That's kind of amazing. There's folks who've been coming for all 25 of those years. There's folks who've been coming for 5 years in a row or 10 years in a row, or they come every other year, or they, and a lot of times when people come back, I mean, we work like crazy to put the best speakers on the stage and have the best content, but in our surveys over and over again, people come back to connect to the Inman community. They want to see each other. They want to meet up in the hallways. They want to grab a drink. They want to share secrets and ideas and referrals with each other. And that's great. If that's the reason people come to connect, and no one even goes and watches a minute of our content, like, that's fine with me. And Laura is the glue of that community. She is the person who holds it together. She is the person who a lot of people sort of get to know as Inman. You'll find that like she probably is the best known. Dani and I are definitely not as well known as Laura, and that's good because she's terrific and she's the front of our social. You know, she oversees our social accounts and what's happening with us on Facebook and. At our events, she's always everywhere at the same time. I don't know how she does it, but if you come to one of our events, you're pretty much guaranteed to meet her. And also, she'd love to hear from you. You can reach out to her directly on Twitter or Instagram. You can send her an email. I think she's just Laura at Inman.com.
Yeah, she's Laura.
And you know, her job is to help you, you know, find your place in the Inman community, or at least find your way into the Inman community. I don't know, Dani, what did I miss? You've worked with her for even longer than I have.
I think that last point was really, I mean, she's the global head of community, and you don't get a title like that without being kind of at the center of all things, right? She's very passionate about connecting people and about helping people find their way into the Inman ecosphere.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And to be an ambassador, it's a fun job, guys. So if any of you are interested to look into the program of being an ambassador, you are meeting amazing, talented professionals from all over the world. You get to talk to so many people that you would not be able to talk otherwise. And obviously you will have to work a little here and there and help everybody who is at Inman if they have any questions or if they're lost or if they need any information. But to be there, they have so much fun, and testimonials were really all about it. We are here to really to have fun and to work and to meet and to mingle. And some of them have been coming for years and years. And the stories they were saying, how so many people met each other, some even got married, and now, you know, it's just like families were born at Inman. That was really, really great. And I wanted to put another poll, Kate, if you don't mind. And meanwhile, we don't have a poll for that, but if any of you have been an ambassador for Inman, will you please put it in the chat? I would love to know, and I'm sure that Lockhart and Dani would like to know as well. And we have a very quick question, and please ask questions. We want to know what you are interested in. So Peter Elani is asking, I'm subscribed to Inman for a second year. One question, how come I have to log in every time I try to open an Inman email report? I've been subscribed for years. I don't really have to unless I'm going to a different device, but maybe you guys can answer.
Listen, it's a struggle for a lot of subscription-driven companies. I assume the problem you're probably having is on your phone. There's certain rules of what we're allowed to do to log you in on your phone, and frankly, those rules generally get made by Apple and Google, not by us. So one way that's fixed by some news organizations is having an app. We've never had an Inman app before, but that's something that we are thinking about because we understand the frustration. I will say, if you're logged in on your desktop computer, you should be able to stay logged in, and if you're having a problem with that, you should reach out to our customer service team. They can help.
So that's interesting, Paul. Do you read Inman articles? 50% saying yes, and yes, sometimes there's another 42. So that is really great record. Congratulations, Inman. No, that's fantastic, right? So when you approach your potential panelists, to either one of you, when you approach your potential panelists, how you do that? Do you have questions in mind? Or is it a surprise what Brad is going to talk about? And also, I would like to find out about the moderator. How do you choose moderators?
So we often choose moderators from folks who've been on our stage as panelists, and they, you know, have a particular knack for it, or they seem to really enjoy doing it. And so that's, you know, that people often sort of they kind of grow into that bigger role just by being on our stage the first time. You know, again, like for each of our sessions when we're planning a big event, we will do, we'll get everybody on the phone together a few weeks before the event, for the panelists and the person that'll be moderating. And the idea is that it's usually a longer conversation. On stage, we have to have about the amount of time we have here, 20, 30 minutes at the most. And sometimes it's even shorter than that, right? But we'll usually get on the phone with folks for about an hour, sometimes more, and just sort of say like, hey, let's talk through all the different things that are on people's minds. Let's hear what, you know, what's fresh and what's top of your mind and what we might want to talk about. And I think it gives everybody then, by the time they come on stage, they sort of feel like, okay, I know that we have at least an hour worth of material and we only have to fill 20 minutes. And then it's the job of the moderator to really like surprise the people on stage a little bit. So again, people don't know exactly what we're going to ask, but they have the confidence that like we're going to play fair. If we ask hard questions, they're going to be fair hard questions. They're not going to be mean hard questions. And if you're doing something interesting and new, we want to hear about that too. So, again, like what Brad always says is we have signs in our green room that say, you'll be great, just be yourself. And that's like that's our message to everyone who comes on the Inman stage. And I think it's a great message to anyone who's doing any kind of thing like we're doing right now. Is like, don't think too hard. Don't try to be someone you're not. The folks who come to our stage, that's because you know a lot about the business, or you have some particular insight into the real estate market, or you have something to share that is a potential game changer. Like, we want to hear that, and we want to hear it in your voice. You don't need to be someone you're not. Like, we want to, if you're interested, we want to hear from you. And that's why I'm saying, and why Dani's saying, reach out to us. If you think you have something to share, you probably are right. And like, we'd love to have that conversation and see if we can, elevate the conversation to one of our stages. So
Dani, if let's say you're coming across an article or a topic that you think it would be interesting for Inman audience, are you reaching out to those people yourself and asking them? So it's not just that they come to you, you also do the research, right? And
right.
Reaching out.
Absolutely. I'm constantly looking for new voices. I attend other real estate events to try to see who else is out there and get some fresh perspective. And I'm obviously online all the time looking for new voices to bring forward. As far as looking through, sorry, I lost your question was.
Yeah, so basically, you are going through other publications, or maybe through social media articles, or social media, someone is asking questions. So you are doing your research and your homework to see what everyone is really interested in and who you should be inviting. And I also see how you have representatives on stage from everywhere. They are all real estate related, but it's not just finance, and it's not just CEOs. You have staging and photography. You have new developments and what's going on in the tech world. So that's what I like about that well-rounded sessions. And you have them constantly throughout the day, and everyone can just hop in and out and be part of a little bit of everything. So how do you spread yourself thin, both of you, Dani, and find those topics that are interesting for the audience?
So I think for me, I spend a lot of time trying to listen to what real estate agents are talking about that they need in their business. And like, for instance, right now we're hearing a lot of, it's time to go back to basics, focus on the fundamentals.
Exactly. That's what it was all Inman. Go back to basics. Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. Strip it down and go back to basics and really fine tune what you're focused on, because priorities are changing with the market, right? And I think that what Locke was saying is like, sometimes we'll have these conversations and then really come out of these prep conversations with like a lot of good juice on what's happening in the market and what we can help them, help agents in the market with. And as we saw during the pandemic, different, real estate's local, but it's also national. So a lot of times we're looking for a national angle, but at the same time, what's working in your local market is probably going to be helpful to somebody in another market who hasn't quite experienced what you've experienced or who will soon. And we saw, like I said, a lot of that during the pandemic, where, what was happening in New York didn't happen in Missouri for 6 months. And even now, our markets are experiencing similar things that people were experiencing 6 months ago. So I think anything that's working in your business is a story and is worth reaching out to share.
Kate, do you mind putting the results of our last poll? I found them interesting. So the majority are interested in market and housing trends. And that's exactly what you were just talking about, Dani, that people, maybe they are local, but they want to know what's going on in the nation, because it might come and knock on their door in another few months. And that's important. Brokerage updates, because we all depend on larger brokerages, EXP, Compass, everybody else. When something's happening to them, good or bad, or is somewhere in between, is going to knock on your door regardless what brokerage you are with. So I think it's all, and marketing strategy, that's close to my heart. So I'm glad that marketing strategy is important for you guys. Thank you so much. So I just wanted to kind of look at it again and see. So that is great. And that's what I like about your panelists and your articles, that you touch everyone's life and everyone's interest. So that is great. So for those of you who are not subscribed to Inman, I personally live in it. Every morning I start, that's the beginning of my day. And I just go through, I don't read every single article, but I just go through them. And then sometimes I just save them and I continue later, but I think it is important. And I like about your honesty and your direct approach to everything. Anything else? Any other questions the audience has? So I would love to hear from you guys. Please let us know what we can share with you in the last few minutes here. I think it's great that we are learning something completely different. I wanted to name our show Behind the Scenes, because when else will you be able to find out how hard everyone is working to make it very useful for us and to make the information available and for us to be on top of the world, not just on top of your neighborhood or your country. So that's important. So no questions. You guys covered it all. Look at that. Perfect. So would you like to add anything, Lockhart, Dani?
Just that, we love when people read our content. We love when people come to our events, and it was just thanks for the positive feedback in this conversation and on the polls. It makes us happy.
All right. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here. We really appreciate it.